So Auburn made it abundantly clear throughout the 2024 season that they were going to be a player for a passer in the 2025 transfer portal. And it seems like they've settled on their answer. Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold is leaving Norman and headed down to the Plains for 2025. And how does this work? Is this a good combination like mashed potatoes and gravy? How does this feel for Jackson Arnold? How does this feel for the Tigers? And what does this mean for Deuce Knight? Let's break it all down. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit that ring notification, and subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Make sure that you're following us on the socials. Links in the description. Make sure you download the podcast version of the show and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at RHOBACK. The holiday season is right around the corner, and what better gift to give someone in your life than a RHOBACK pullover, fleece, hoodie, pair of shorts, pair of pants, whatever you see fit, and go to RHOBACK.com. Use the promo code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. 20% off at RHOBACK.com when you use the promo code SECU. Now, how do we feel about just simply the fit? I'm actually a fan of this one. Now, there's a lot of people out there that thought, well, it's got to be Mississippi State. The style of offense was being recruited underneath Jeff Lebby for Jackson Arnold to work, but he came on in from Denton Guyer. But I do think that there are some similarities of what presents Jackson Arnold's game that will fit extremely well in an RPO system headlined by Hugh Freeze. Number one, you have to be an athletic playmaker. You have to be able to trust your legs. Jackson Arnold did that. We're all going to point to the Alabama game where he rushed for 131 yards. He finished the year with 444 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns, and he averaged over 3 yards a carry. He also has a good release. When you look at the way that he makes decisions, it's quick, it's direct, it's timely. And I think that's going to bode extremely well in his favor when it comes to connecting with these wide receivers down on the Plains. Last season, despite being benched, he completed 62.6% of his passes, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The real number that you have some underwhelming thoughts is the yards per game. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass, but he also had multiple games where he threw for under 100 yards per contest in 4 quarters of action. So you got to be able to see the upgrades there. A lot of people have sold their stock on Jackson Arnold, and I completely understand it. I'm not one of them. I am somebody that does not believe that this is a kid, when you watch his tape, winner of the Elite 11 just a few years ago, is as bad as it looks. And sometimes the situation matters. When you're down and you're around a bunch of people that make you feel low about yourself, do you ever see morale get any higher, or are you just down in the dumps even further? That was kind of Oklahoma this year, and a lot of the things were out of his control. Now, make no mistake. There were multiple things that were in his control, which ultimately led to his benching in the Tennessee game and then eventually having to be called back on in and more than likely transferring in the offseason. But still, you had 2 different offense coordinators. You were not planning on working with either one of them when you initially signed on in Norman, Oklahoma. You thought Jeff Lebby was the guy. And then you get stuck with Seth Luttrell and then a combination of Joe John Finley and Kevin Johns as the next play callers. On top of that, you replace your entire offensive line after being in the Big 12. Not the SEC. Hate to break it to you. If you do not understand how potent and physical these defensive lines are, Kentucky has it. Ole Miss has it. South Carolina has it. Vanderbilt has it. Every team in the conference can have a playmaker that will pummel you into the dirt. They can have that. And a lot of them have multitudes of that. So when you don't have an offensive line protecting you, you're basically running around with the chicken without its head. And the third thing, everyone was talking about these wide receivers, Angel Anthony, Nick Anderson, Deion Burks. You could throw in Jaleel Farouk. Every single one of them. Wednesday comes around. Let's look at the list. Out. Oh, we got Brennan Thompson and a couple of tight ends that hopefully will get this to work. Hopefully things are going to turn the corner. Nope, never did. You were playing with one arm tied behind your back, and throughout the season, they took out one leg, and then they took out the other leg, and there you were, just basically hobbling around, trying to either run for your life or get a pass off to a player downfield that would have at least made morale seem like it was trending in the right direction. That was Oklahoma football this past year. So you're going to a better situation, which I think is a good thing for Jackson Arnold. It's an offense that I think will cater to his strengths, and the personnel is going to be that much more upgraded. You have wide receivers like Perry Thompson. You have wide receivers like Cam Coleman. You got a guy in Malcolm Simmons. You're going to add in a veteran. I will not be shocked to see a guy such as Nick Anderson maybe find his way onto the Plains. Because if you go back and you watch that Alamo Bowl performance against Arizona, these two were in sync. They were speaking the same language. They were absolutely playing the Batman and Robin for the Sooners offense. And so that's a good thing. And maybe that relationship continued to blossom throughout your camp. And because you didn't see it on the field, now you get a resurgence down on the Plains. So you get another veteran receiver inside of a young wide receiver locker room. The other thing that I really like about this is that it's going to give Deuce Knight time. Deuce Knight is the quarterback that I do believe Hugh Freeze is putting all of his eggs into the basket for. He is saying, this is my guy. Just like DJ Lagway is the guy for Billy Napier, just like Josh Heupel has Nico Iamaleava, just like now Sharon Moore has Bryce Underwood. My guy is Deuce Knight. I believe that he is going to be the reason our team reaches new heights. So you give him time to sit and regroup and reassess and learn the ins and outs of the offense. So whenever it's time to either pass the torch because Jackson Arnold is struggling, or more importantly, he ends up graduating, going on to the NFL and having a successful 10 plus years in there while being a good player on the Plains, he's primed and good to go. And you continue to build a roster in that standpoint. So Deuce Knight now gets to sit and learn all the ins and outs about the offense that Hugh Freeze wants to know. So whenever QB1 does arise for him, he is locked and loaded and ready for action. The other thing here is that Jackson Arnold has experience playing in the SEC. And I know that we're going to make this joke. Auburn's only going after players that beat Alabama. Wouldn't you? I mean, honestly, if that's your biggest rival and you talk about a guy that could absolutely be a reason that your team wins the Iron Bowl for the first time on the Plains in what, 5 years? And you're not losing in quadruple overtime? Yeah, I would 10 times out of 10 at least take the flyer on the roll. I'm not saying that this is just to be the only quarterback you bring in. You probably are going to go after another quarterback that maybe is competing with Jackson Arnold. But from a scheme fit standpoint, I really like this. From an overall persona standpoint, with the personnel that's around him, from the wide receivers, from the potential names that are going to follow from Norman, Oklahoma, down to Auburn, Alabama. I really like this. From an overall standpoint of what this means for the future of Deuce Knight, where you're not rushing him into drills, I really like this. And the final thing that I really like about this is that it's a fresh start for Jackson Arnold. I'm not done believing that this kid has the talent. You can't sell me that everyone in America believed that he was a 5-star quarterback coming out of Denton-Guyer High School in the state of Texas, where they breed quarterbacks left and right, and we were all wrong. You can't sell me on that. That 99.9% of people all said this guy was overhyped. Come on now. I mean, if he was a 4-star, maybe we can have this conversation. But when everyone is agreeing on the same points, what stands out about his game, now you just got to put him in the right offense that will elevate that status. That, to me, is what's going to work for a guy like Jackson Arnold down in Auburn. And if it doesn't, well, here's the best part. Your contingency plan is that Deuce Knight is hopefully going to be ready to go. That was the quarterback you wanted all along. That was the quarterback that many people in Tiger Country hope to see. That is somebody that the War Eagle Pride will eventually gravitate to. But I think that it's really important that Jackson Arnold is on campus. He's going to be there throughout the spring. He's going to learn everything that Hugh Freeze needs in a quarterback. He's going to build those relationships with the young wide receivers. And unlike Peyton Thorne, who showed up in fall practice, maybe you're going to have everything trending in the right direction before your first game. And then it'll carry on over. And instead of losing games, because I really do believe that Auburn was the most underrated team in college football when they weren't making mistakes. Strike that. Let me rephrase that. I believe that Auburn was the most unrecognizable team because of their record does not define who they were. They were just a turnover-prone, inconsistent offense, but they really were talented. You get a guy that's not going to make a lot of turnovers. You get a guy that's going to be able to maybe elevate the passing attack. You get a guy that's still going to have that mobility in the rushing game for the RPO system and is going to make the right decisions. More importantly, if you bring in a running back to pair alongside him, I think that there's a lot to like about the future of Auburn football. I've said this for a while now. Auburn has to be like Texas going into their third season underneath Steve Sarkisian, or like Mario Cristobal going into his third season at Miami. Hugh Freeze has got to strike. You had to land a quarterback in the portal. Jackson Arnold, on paper, I think is a really solid fit to stabilize the issues that have been going on and put you in a great position to where in 2025, we're talking about maybe 8-4, 9-3, or maybe even potentially 10-2 and a dark horse to win a national championship. But let me know in the comment section down below. What's your overall thoughts on Jackson Arnold heading on down to the Plains for 2025? Do you like the fit? Do you think that this is good long-term for Hugh Freeze? Do you think that this is going to work? Like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all the socials. Link in the description. Make sure that you also download the podcast version of the show. Link in the description there. And check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, folks, I am Cole Thompson, War Eagle. Peace.